2 hours of sports talk excellence here in the Flower City. The sun is out from the High Falls Studios in downtown Rochester. My name is Gene Battaglia. You can join us, of course, at 866-4326. Of course, the area code proudly 585. We are on YouTube and Twitch. You can leave a comment there. You can write to us on X, our handle at WGR Rochester. We're on 95.7 FM, AM 950, and always free streaming in the Odyssey app. Good afternoon, Tim Schneider. Lots to talk about today, including we've got a Bills signing. We've got our first NFL schedule note. Let's set you up for the show here today. As coming up in the 2 o'clock hour, we will go to Montreal. Joe Yerdon from Noted Hockey will join us. The Noted Jerk, also from the Bleacher Report. Love catching up with Joe as the Sabres wrapping up their media availability right now. And I don't think we have like a money quote like Tage Thompson saying that's none of your business or anything. But if we have one of those, we will certainly have Joe Yerdon check in with us here as we'll get his thoughts on what lineup changes should happen. And boy, we've had some interesting suggestions here in the last 24 hours, have we not? We'll get a temperature check with Dan Carey. He's the Nighthawk team president. The good news for the Nighthawks, hey, we have a team, right? Or you go back to this time last year, and it seemed like they had one foot out the door. And thank you to the Seneca Nation, but it was a year of growing pains. So now you have a full off season, and you have a roster that's pretty decent, but you don't have a head coach. Where do we go from here? Dan Carey will join us here coming up bottom of this hour. Again, our phone number 585-866-4326. That's the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com. The proverbial table is set. We'll get to the Bills notes here in just a second, but to me, it seems like I don't know what musical I quoted on Friday, Tim, but I had to look up what musical this is because we've all heard that song, Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better. Do you know what that's from?
Annie?
Close. That is Annie, Get Your Gun. Wow, I'll give you credit on that, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better, which I don't know if they would call it Annie, Get Your Gun. That came out in 1946. To me, that's what the Sabres are up against here. They are playing a team with a vicious forecheck, and if you turn the puck over, bam. And the opportunities were plentiful last night. So as we get into this, and we'll talk to Joe Yerdon, it's not doom and gloom, okay? At the forefront, I said, hey, this would be Sabres in 7. We're only through 3. So the Sabres could lose one more and still be okay. I think it's just the way it's kind of happened. The way that had really nothing to do with puck luck or anything like that. The way that, if you go back to that first period where the Habs actually hit 2 posts in game 1, you're very close to being down 3-0 in this series, right? That third period in game 1 was all Montreal. And Friday night, Sunday night was an extension of Friday night. So to me, things I would not blame. Ready? Number 1 on the list, Alex Lyon. What do you want the guy to do? Now, Friday night, not so good, right? Like at the beginning, that wasn't good. Last night, nothing to do with it. And to hear Lindy Ruff post game just kind of cut off the question, like when you're going to go down the road of let's open up this door. I don't think that is something that will be considered. I wouldn't do it. Then I wouldn't have made the move from UPL to Alex Lyon in the first place, and what do I know? Right? It ended up being the right move. But that's not the move. I've seen another one, and this is debatable, right? But there's an ace up the Sabre sleeve, and it's not a – I'm trying not to be punny here, but not a black ace here. I'm talking about Constant Helenius. Helenius, 19 years old. Somebody who can create. And what's going on with Jason Zucker? Nobody's saying anything. Like 2.5 minutes he played last night. Was that coach? Oh, it was just the way the game played out. We were shorthanded. Oh, okay. Well, if there is something wrong with Zucker and he's not performing, because of whatever it is. And again, it's all speculative. You know why? Because the NHL doesn't tell you anything. Then that's on the table. I'll listen to that. But again, I wouldn't do that. Here's the move I would make, right? Because the strength of the Sabres this season, to me, has been the ability to have defensemen jump in and contribute. And in the Boston series, it was Bo Byram. Bo Byram was fantastic. And you've seen a little bit of Dahlin on the power play. That shot, that's nice last night. Not enough, certainly. Owen Power isn't quite there yet. And Samuelson certainly is a stud, but you need more from him this round. It works us to the bottom pairing. And for the life of me, if you just had to answer this question, which of the remaining defensemen are the most sound technically and are not going to make a poor decision with the puck? Okay, the answer is the guy who has yet to appear in the playoffs at all. To me, it's Zach Metza. Bias, I am admitting, okay, that the Amherst team captain, but look at the stats. He went almost, 5 months without giving up a 5-on-5 goal? And yet you have Logan Stanley turning the puck over. Now, Logan Stanley, I understand, because you had Zadorov and you had Boston, and gooning up would be strong to say, but Boston wants to play a different style. Have you noticed what Montreal does? Again, anything you can do, I can do better. They're guys, they're fast. They're small. Not all of them. You got Jacques back there, but I'm talking about the guys up front. So to me, Metza going in over Stanley is a no-brainer. Whether or not Lindy Ruff makes that decision, I don't know. And again, it got chippy toward the end. And no, I didn't think Malenstein ran Dubash. It was just a bang-bang play. If anything, the way he's kind of leaping up, he's trying to say, hey, I'm not trying to make contact with you. If anything, like, he could have gone totally Lucic against Miller, if you know what I'm saying. He could have totally blew him up. And for any Montreal fan, you're too sensitive if you're thinking that was a run at the goalie. So am I worried about any retribution? No. To me, you put out what is best, and that has been a kind of flaw. And if the forecheck has been a problem, you know what would prevent the forecheck? Actually making sure that you get the damn puck out of your own end. And that's where Zach Metza can come in. He's had a little bit of time out for sure. I would go this. Helenius is interesting, and I think it's only under consideration if you think that, okay, what is up with Zucker? What's up with some of these? And you're not – Tage Thompson could be on one leg. He's not coming out of the lineup. He scored last night for crying out loud. But, game number 2 had a terrible turnover. And last night, the Tage that you come to know is just not there. Tuck had a subpar game too. So this series, I don't expect this to get wrapped up in 5. I'm going to tell you that. The Sabres will win another game in this series. But I see this kind of going the distance. We'll talk to Joe Yerdon coming up in hour number 2. We'll get his thoughts here on lineup changes. And this is what the playoffs are all about. Sure, it would be great to be in Carolina right now, just kicking up and yeah, you really think they're going to go 16-0 this postseason? Heck, even Colorado lost the game, right? And they're concerned about their goaltending situation. So nothing is easy when it comes to the NHL postseason. And to me, it is the toughest postseason that you have to to win a championship. Football. I would say football, just the length of it when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs, that's why I believe that this is the toughest of the championships to win once you reach the postseason. 585-866-4326 is our phone number. The Bills signed a familiar name, and this is somebody that comes over from the Chiefs. Mike Dana, he's 28 years old, was released in a cost-cutting move. Linebacker, 2-time Super Bowl champion, 21.5 regular season sacks. He's got 2 in the playoffs, including a strip sack of Josh Allen back in 2024. Does this mean that Matt Milano's time is up in Buffalo? Perhaps. There are a lot of players from the Bills' defense last year. It's kind of alarming when you think about it, that are just sitting out there. Hey, anybody want Joey Bosa? No. Tre'Davious White? Not really. Jordan Poyer's still out there. Yeah, certainly Daquan Jones. He kind of made a hint that he wasn't going to come back. Well, he hasn't found a job yet. So Mike Dana coming in, not to mention Matt Milano. Jack Thompson, if I had to rank the two guys I would want back, I think Thompson in the middle, because the dude can tackle, and Tre'Davious White. But is White willing to accept the corner 4 position? Because that's kind of what he was. Well, I would say, well, wasn't that what he kind of sort of was last year? Like, the idea was Maxwell Harrison was going to be the guy, and then Harrison gets kind of hurt, and Tre'Davious White just kind of worked his way in. I think the corner is a position that you need to be deep. And I hope the Bills, they have to bring in somebody else. So, but today is about Mike Dana. So another veteran coming in. And is he a lock to make this Bills roster? Absolutely not. Nope. Anybody that comes in now is going to be fighting for a job. We'll talk tomorrow on the show to Matt Perino, who was out at Bills rookie minicamp, where we did have the footage of IGB talking about corners. David Igbenhausen, the corner, second-round pick out of Ohio State. Certainly that corner position is going to be one that we're going to be tracking as we get closer to St. John Fisher University. That's going to be all coming up tomorrow on the show. Note indirectly about the Buffalo Bills for the scheduling. So we had some fun on this Friday, Tim, as the fun thing in sports is this, and this is the policy. Some say it's moving the goalpost. I say it's not. It's sports. Lighten up. So if I, like a lawyer, can make an argument and convince you that, I wouldn't touch the goaltending and I would put Zach Metza back in there, I think I've done my job in a sports sort of sense. Tim, you kind of did your job because all along you've been saying, hey, the NFL schedule, it's blown up, and the NFL is just doing this over the top. But the fact that last Thursday night we had an email, an announcement that the announcement was coming, that the announcement would be this Thursday. Oh, okay. This is way over the top. Well, we have the NFL schedule that'll be coming out Thursday, and that'll be smack dab in the middle of Game 5 for the Buffalo Sabres. And at that point, am I going to be really dialed in? Probably not. Somebody needs to do us all just kind of a service and just leak the whole thing. I'm not just talking for the Bills, but the whole NFL. How fantastic would that be? The news today, because this happens every single year, that it's not a leak. It's just an announcement today. And the TV partners get the chance to puff out their chest. And first up, it's NBC. And, goody. We have the Cowboys and Giants Sunday Night Football Week 1. Look, Week 1 is the season for optimism. Haven't I seen this once or twice before? Isn't this the one where the Cowboys look like they're world beaters and the Giants look incompetent? Now, what makes it different this year, number one, is there's a new head coach for the Giants, and that'll be on full display. And for the Giants, they do have exciting young pieces all over the place on offense. Jackson Dart, Malik Neighbors. Hey, they were banged up last year, but here they are with the new head coach, John Harbaugh. So it's not the same old Giants from that standpoint, but the Cowboys are always, TV rating gold. And, it's the New York market too. And guess what? You're going to watch. It's not like I'm not going to watch. So that's going to be your primetime game, week number 1, which if you listen to Sal Capaccio's Always Game Day in Buffalo podcast, and he does the thing with Mike North. And Mike North, who is the VP when it comes to the scheduling, I think dropped something there when talking about the Bills' new stadium, where the idea that, hey, how do you make it a standalone game and celebrate this? Well, you can't do it on Thursday night because, well, that's reserved for the season opener. And this year, it's actually going to be Wednesday night, technically, because it's Seattle. A lot of speculation that's going to be Chicago at Seattle, which, sign me up for that. That should be a lot of fun. And then the Thursday game we get this year is going to be down under between the Rams and the 49ers. Played like a day ahead of their schedule, but because when we'll watch it prime time on Thursday, great. We'll have that action for you, which leaves Monday. And to me, the Bills opening up, again, my speculation here, but after listening to Mike North in the Sales Pod, it makes all the sense in the world. The NFL wants to showcase the new stadium. Hey, wouldn't your fans love something like this? Look at little old Buffalo and how they were able to do this. My goodness, all the amenities, and look at these big Buffalo statues, and a lot of fun. And look at this tailgating. Wow, this is a great time. Let's celebrate the NFL. And you could do that on a Sunday. You could do that on a Sunday Night Football. But for one standalone game on Monday Night Football, in our business, it's called shoulder programming. Pre-game show, but beyond that, for ESPN on a Monday, you don't think they would put, and he's on our monitor right now, he doesn't wear tank tops anymore. I don't know why that is, but you won't think they wouldn't put that guy out there? The kicker from the Colts? What's his name, Tim?
Pat McAfee.
Thank you. You don't think they put that guy out there because he's got the relationship with Brandon Beane? And then you could bring out NFL Live and, oh my gosh, this all of a sudden becomes a full day of programming from Buffalo. And it's all day. And that's what the NFL wants. They want to showcase what it is they have. And whoever they put on there, it really doesn't matter to me. I would personally, I would just love a cream puff opener. Just save me, Detroit or Baltimore or any of those opponents that could come in and very easily win in Buffalo, although Baltimore hasn't done it recently, but they're coming back. No, not Chicago. I don't need them. Give me the Dolphins. Give me the Jets. Give me a team that, all right, W, and let's move on kind of deal. So, yes, I'm not dumping on the schedule. I'm just dumping on the idea that the NFL, in their brilliant marketing plan, will just try to dominate the news cycle here for the next week. And it started last Thursday. And what will be the next kind of leak tomorrow? Maybe tomorrow it'll be ESPN to say, hey, here's our opening Monday night game. Maybe tomorrow it'll be Fox or CBS, one of the two. Who gets the late afternoon window? Because the late afternoon window that's as attractive as anything. Now that they kick off at basically 4:30, spills over to Sunday night prime time. Yeah, that's always kind of a good one. Was Dallas at Cleveland? Was that last year? It was recently. 585-866-4326 is our phone number. One note locally, I don't know if this crossed anybody's mind. Certainly didn't mine. Hey, the sun is out, but it's not exactly where we would want it to be here, and we're not a weather show or anything like that. But guess what we have on the calendar this week on the sporting docket? It's the PGA Championship. This is always a thing, right? The PGA Championship in the month of May. And in the end, it worked out just fine when it was back here in 2023. Yes, Saturday was full of rain, and you went out there was soggy. And the first day, there was a frost warning. Okay, got over that real quick. But you know what? It all wrapped up fine. Sunday was bright blue skies. You had Michael Block with a hole-in-one. You had that storyline. You had Brooks Koepka. All in all, it was a great tournament. And we get this again in 2035. So, Tim, assuming I'm here next year or the year after that, Here is our goal in the sports bar. Ready? And you always have the opt out card. You can. I want to do this until 20. If Jim Nantz can call his shot and say I'm going to. What did he say? Something like 2041 or something. Not that long, but he said he's going to do 50 Masters and then he'll call his shot. I certainly would love to be doing this in the year 2035.
I'm on board for that.
And doing seeing the world come to Rochester for the PGA Championship. But boy, oh boy. Now, I'm not a NASCAR fan myself. Why did they put that in Watkins Glen yesterday? And again, it all worked out just fine. But Mother's Day. Are you kidding? That should be
We
in
used
August.
to care about it. Now we don't.
Now we don't. Well, let's talk to somebody we do care about. Segue. Dan Carey. He's the team president of the Rochester Nighthawks. They're going to hire a coach. Let me just see. Can I? Do you think I should just jab him with a question like that, right out of the gate? You hiring a coach? Bam.
Let's
what do you
start
think?
it off.
Why were you so bad last year, Dan? We'll talk to Dan Carey coming up next. Joe Yurden, some Sabres as he's up in Montreal. Your calls as well at 866-4326. My name is Gene Battaglia here, WGR Rochester. Buffalo Sabres find themselves down in a series for the first time this postseason. Montreal easily winning Game 3. Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff on his opponents.
They're a good team, but if you put the puck in the right place, you can control some of that play. We fueled some of their aggression, and they get on you. They force some of those plays. So I'll give them a lot of credit. Like I said before this started, they beat a hell of a team. They are a hell of a team. Don't take them for granted. If we don't realize it now, we're never going to realize it.
Game 4 tomorrow night here on the Sports Leader. We will talk to Joe Yurden. He's up in Montreal. Bleacher Report and noted hockey coming up next hour here in the Sports Bar. Buffalo Bills signed former Chiefs linebacker Mike Danna. Danna's 28, was released in Kansas City in a cost-cutting move. Rochester Red Wings open a series tomorrow night at home against Lehigh Valley. Gene Battaglin, the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester. I'm trying to figure out what happened with the Nighthawks last year because, hey, it was a 2-0 start and you're beating Philadelphia and go out to San Diego and you see the highlights like, okay, here we go. And then you had a goalie suspension and injuries and it just kind of fell apart. But, hey, we still have a team, right? And it's a new year coming up. Joining us here on the phone is the team president, Dan Carey. Dan, appreciate the time. And I'm going to give you the option here. Do you want the softball warm-up questions first, or do you want the hard-hitting question?
Whatever you got for me, Gene. Just throw it at me. I'm easy.
Okay. Uniforms. Are you going teal next year? Dan, please tell us.
Well, I can't tell you that. Like, that's not a, hard-hitting or a softball. There's just some things I can't tell you.
All right.
Yeah, there's more to come on that. If we're gonna make a change, you'll find out here soon.
Okay, Dan, I guess let's start here from the beginning because this time last year we don't know what's going on, and even you, we talked, we were texting, and everybody's kind of like, are we allowed to kind of just look at it from that perspective of, oh boy, it was kind of hard to put in a front office and everything else. Do you give yourself a pass in any way for this year, knowing that, hey, things came together really late just to keep the franchise afloat here?
I'm always pretty critical of what I do and how things have worked, and whether we're in the playoffs. We made the playoffs the last 3 years, right? And I think there was only 4 teams across the league that were able to do that. And not to say, hey, that's what we're going to hang our hat on. That's definitely not the end goal, but we have a good team, and that's hard to kind of sit here and say when you don't make the playoffs and, things kind of snowballed the last half of the season or even before that. But we do have a really good core group, and you ask any team around the league, like Halifax is 8th. They ended up in 8th place and they're going to the championship. Like, the way our league works, any team can meet any team any night of the week, any game that they play. So, we dealt with some things that, again, not to make excuses, it's very unusual, right? Kind of going into the season, going into the off season, to have, an organization, we didn't know if we were going to still be together, right? We didn't know if that was going to be something that, the team was going to be folding or not. And there's a lot of challenges that come along with that. But again, not making excuses. We got to be better. And it's an entertaining game and team that we have. We got to make sure we put the right pieces in place to get back to that kind of standard that we want to be at. And, next year we're going to be much better.
Yeah, I mean, you have certainly the talent. I mean, we see that. Connor Fields, right at the top of the list. Where do things stand right now in terms of the search for a new head coach here, Dan? How many people have you talked to? How many people are you still looking to talk to? Have you narrowed the list down at all? Where do things stand right now in terms of the head coaching search?
Yeah, we have some strong candidates for sure. When we made the coaching change, there was a handful of guys that reached out to us and expressed their interest, right? They know the type of team that we do have and what we can accomplish. And, I think there's a lot of interest and potential here that people see. So we're going through that search. We're going to make sure we take a hard look at this and know, we've got discussions through our players that we have to kind of go through. I do that at the end of every year and have discussions with all of our guys and get some feedback from them as well. Because I know, not to put it on them, but there's going to be some honesty that comes from them as far as what they're needing as well. And these guys want to be held accountable. They want to be pushed, and they want to be the best team in the league. And, our culture is good, but, it wasn't good enough to win the amount of games that we needed to. So, the search is ongoing right now. We're continuing to figure out, what the options are, and we want to find the right person that's going to, lead us to a championship.
Yeah. Randy Mearns came in and was your interim. Is he a candidate to retain that position on a full-time basis?
Yeah, Mearnsy did a great job, and a tough situation to come into. And it's, you see some of the changes that NHL teams make, and Vegas is the first one that pops to mind, right? Tortorella comes in, and they get hot, and they're still rolling, right? It's not always the case, right? And we had good people that were in place that did a pretty good job for us, and we, Randy came in, and I felt like, given the situation, he was good. He was a different voice and kind of different mindset of what we had, and that was what we were looking for, and it didn't work out. So, you look at our offense and the production on the offense over the last 3 or 4 years, and it's been, one of our strong points of our team, and we have to get better defensively and between the pipes with our goaltending. So those are areas where, I need to address when it comes to roster, but then our coach, I think we need to do a much better job of preparing that side of things. So Randy is a guy that we'll strongly consider and look at. And, I think for me, clean slate going into the off season, who's the best person to lead these guys and make sure that we get better. Right. And that's one of the things that I want to see is there's never a point where we have to stop teaching these guys, right? They got to continue to learn. And no matter how many years of experience they have at the pro level, they need to continue to develop and continue to learn.
Yeah, and you answer one of my questions there. It's okay, like where does the team need to improve? You mentioned back end, and forgive me for not knowing, but I'm sure there are a lot of fans listening right now that, hey, we understand the NFL salary cap and we understand different leagues. How does it work in your league in terms of acquiring talent? Are there free agents? Certainly, we know there's a draft. Do you have anything to do in terms of a salary cap? Like, where do how does this kind of measure up in terms of some of the obstacles you have to overcome here in order to improve the roster there?
Yeah, it'd be very similar in kind of how things are structured and the process with the other leagues. We've got free agency, which opens up August 1st. Draft is usually early September. And then trades. So we've got our opportunities to get better. And, we haven't made a ton of huge changes over the last few years and expected our guys who are kind of young and experienced. Like if you look at our overall age, we've got a couple older guys that kind of skew that number a little bit, but we're quite young compared to other teams across the league. And there's time to kind of let things continue to develop, and certain guys that, Ryan Smith, Ryan Lanchfrey, Thomas McCombie, these guys that aren't, older guys, they're getting more experience, which they should be getting better each year. So, the changes that we need to make that are necessary for us to have the success that we want to have is going to probably be a little bit more than we have in the past. So, again, free agency is something that, quite frankly, we weren't really able to do last year with knowing we weren't going to be a team. Right. And that was hard because you can't really call a guy and say, hey, you're going to want to play for the Nighthawks when we didn't know if we were going to be a team the week after that. So that was a challenge to try and, have those discussions and, what would have looked like if we had have known. Right. So I think, again, circumstances that made things difficult, but I'm not going to make that as an excuse. We're going to continue to push in the off season to try and acquire the talent we think is necessary. And I'm excited for it. Like, you go to a game and, anybody at that Buffalo game, or certainly like the game against Saskatchewan, who was number one in the league at that time in overtime, like it's an exciting game. We have exciting players, right? It's a fun team to get on board with. And, now we got to win games. It's a business. It's something that we take a lot of pride in, and having our ownership has been fantastic. The support that they have for us is something that, we haven't had, and we're excited about. It's going to, I think it's going to lead to help in that area as well, as far as attracting players and bringing them in.
Dan Carey, team president for the Rochester Nighthawks, has a list that, before you know it, we will be upon the new season. And something else too, like the draft we talk about from college, and trades and free agency. Are we looking at the possibility of a dispersal draft? Now, Dan, I don't want that. I just kind of go on the record. From the players' standpoint, I don't want to see franchises go. For anybody that's not familiar, Philadelphia announced that they're not coming back. Has there been any resolution in terms of that franchise, Dan?
Not yet, no. And just the kind of shout out and kudos to our commissioner, Brett Fruit. He's the man is incredibly smart and works extremely hard. And I got to see that firsthand with, working with him closely, basically on a daily basis when it comes to trying to save Rochester. And it shouldn't be what he has to work on and deal with, but unfortunately, that's kind of the nature of the business at times. So it sounds like there's definitely some potential there for Philly to remain as a team, and I think there's a couple options. So he's working, I know, on a daily basis to try and figure out a solution to it, which is what we all want to see. Our league has it's been around a long time, and we kind of have our ups and downs, but anybody comes to a NLL game knows they're getting their money's worth, and there's a lot of passionate fans out there, and there was in Philly for a long time, but I don't think they put the resources behind it that they needed to have the success. And I think finding an owner that's willing to do that is the first step. So Brett's working on that. We get some updates that are I'm optimistic, but nothing's done until it's kind of done and that dotted line has been signed. So we'll see over hopefully the next couple of months it's resolved.
Yeah, I'll say this too, like in terms of bringing it back to Rochester, I was so happy with our local fan base, the way they turn. Look, it's not a playoff season. It's always a little bittersweet, the last game of the season. But what did it mean to you to see 9,000 getting into the Blue Cross Arena? And you could put this to rest too. Like, that had nothing to do with any Buffalo Bandits game. 9,000. Your thoughts on that last crowd of the season there, Dan?
No, to me, it shows how passionate this area can be about this team, right? And I think, again, for us to be able to accomplish what we accomplished as a front office without any time to prepare. It was August 4th is when the deal was done, and there was two of us, myself and Craig Rosinski, as our staff, and we had support from the Amherst and their staff, for a few months, and then we had a full-time staff that had never been involved with the National Lacrosse League before. So it was fast and furious. We were playing catch-up pretty much the whole year, but we still saw an increase in our ticket sales and overall attendance, and it was definitely icing on the cake to see that the last game of the regular season, knowing that we weren't in the playoffs. But we want to reward our fans and the fan base and the community with a team that is going to be, hosting a playoff game next year. And, knowing that they supported us in that situation, we know that support is going to be there going into next year. And I think it just created a little bit of momentum for everybody, right? You get people in that arena, and the way that we present our game of lacrosse, it's, yes, as fans of sports, we want to see our team win and have success, and that's an important part of it. But we also do a lot of great things to have people just entertain and enjoy the game itself. So, that's not a priority, but winning is definitely, a top priority that we have focused on. And, for a group of really competitive people that hate to lose, it's challenging. It sucks sometimes, but we're optimistic. I'm excited. I know the support of our ownership and our players aren't, like, they're not okay with it, right? So we hear fans getting upset and not happy about the situation. It's tenfold for all of us. So, we'll be better.
Yeah, and the next question I'm going to ask is probably a question that's more fitted for President Seneca and the ownership group. But can you give us kind of a sense of like, all right, were you able to hit the benchmarks? Because like winning, all right, that's it wasn't a great record, but for the reasons we just kind of laid out, okay, it's something you can kind of build off of. Like in terms of attendance and dollars and everything like that, I don't want to be having that conversation that we had last summer here, Dan. So I guess my question is, can you expand a little bit here in terms of what the ownership is saying to you as far as things that they are looking for going from year one here to year two under this new ownership?
They're committed. Like, there's zero worry from my standpoint that we're going to be in the same situation. So they're invested. This is important to them, and just being involved in the Rochester community, but the sport. The origins of lacrosse is from the Native Americans, and this is very important to their culture and to their people. So for us, it's the same, and we want to honor that. So there's zero concern on my from my standpoint on their investment and knowing how important this is to them, and they want to win just as much as any of us do. So early in the year, right? I think we showed what kind of team we were earlier, and things happen, and just kind of like all of a sudden it got away from us, and things kind of snowballed. So I don't think I know the record does not reflect the type of team we have. I know we're a much better team than that, and a few of those 1-goal games and close games we end up winning. It's a different story, and I'd like to think there's probably not too many teams that would have liked to seen us in the playoffs. And I think they're going to continue to push us and keep us accountable and make sure that, the wins, losses are a priority. And, we have regularly scheduled meetings that they are, asking some questions, right? Some hard hitting questions and important questions that we need to be accountable for. So I'm excited for that. Like, that's important to me to make sure that, I've kind of treated this as my own since day one, and, to have somebody that feels that same way, because it is theirs, it's huge. It's great for me because I care, a ton about this and take it personally. So I think, a lot of our guys do as well. So excited to have them and know that they are extremely invested in this.
Yeah, so we get a final of Halifax-Toronto. Forgive me for not getting excited about that, Dan, but I guess my question is about the playoff format. Like, to me, it's like, all right, Vancouver just playing just one game there to kind of advance. Why is that? Has there been any discussion of maybe opening that first round to like a best of three just to give the team a chance if they stub their toe and you're not out there in a matter of 60 minutes there, Dan?
Yeah, it's something we've always discussed. So our league used to be one game. It was just one game for each round. So, you got the 3 rounds and it's a one game. And there's been teams that have been, kind of top of the standings and get through. And we, I don't know when that changed. It's probably been maybe 15 years or so. But it's a challenge, right? It's look at the NFL, right? You won one game, and if you're not at your best, then you might be out of the playoffs. So, it's hard. It's hard to deal with, especially if you're on the losing end of that. But at the same time, the 2 to 3 is sometimes, maybe not coming out on the end that you'd want either. So I think it's a challenge to kind of figure out what the best thing to do is. And they went from one game each to, we had a mini game not too long ago that, we've discussed, and whether that's something that's kind of unique in our league to continue to consider or not. But, getting a home playoff date is very important, right? And I think that's one of the incentives or one of the reasons we might and have talked about doing that, the 2 or 3 in the first round. But it's just been discussion, right? It hasn't been something that we're like, hey, we're going to make a decision on this. It's been discussion. Arena availability, it's a reality in our league. It's a challenge, right? You've got all these concerts and NHL and NBA teams in the arenas that create a challenge to get dates. And, for us to be able to do that for, if you have potentially 9 playoff games, right, you got 3, 3, and 3, now you're creating more challenges across the league to try and find that. Knowing, again, our league, these guys are pros. Like, it's incredible to see how far we've come when it comes to the player, the athlete himself, right? And when I played, guys really took it serious, and you're working out and invested in it. But it's another level now. Like, these guys are just full-time lacrosse players, but that's not the whole league. And going to, you know, a 3-3-3 for each round, it makes it hard, right, when you're not able to play on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. So it's something to consider, but hey, you got to be ready to go. You got to be at your best during that game. If you're not, then, you know, the better team wins that night and they move on.
Dan, last one. What does it mean to you that you were named the finalist for NLL Executive of the Year?
It's always kind of, you know, interesting to think about that. You know, you get the GM of the Year award and these certain things, and it's a reflection of everybody, right? And you know, fortunate to win that one a few years ago, but it's like, all right, our players perform well, and our coaches and our front, like, it's everybody. So I think it's collective. It's not just one person. And, you know, Ripper comes to mind, Craig Rubzinski, you know, and how much he worked at this, and, you know, Seneca Nation and the Seneca Holdings with Jeff Ellis and the support that we had. It's not just one person when you're kind of looking at that. So, you know, I think if I, you know, was kind of excited and looking forward to it, it was more because of the team effort. And, I'm pretty critical of myself, so I don't think, you know, get too excited about that stuff. It's more thinking of everybody else and knowing that would have been a reflection of them and their hard work. And it's, we'll keep getting better. It doesn't change anything one way or the other. That's not what it's about for us. We care, and we want to see this team succeed. And I think that effort that gets put in on a daily basis from a whole staff is something that I'm really proud of, right? It's not just one or two people. We've got an amazing group and amazing support.
Yeah, Dan, this was fun. Let's do this again over the summer. Appreciate that, especially when you're ready to announce the team returning to Teal and Purple. What do you say?
Well, if that happens, right, we don't know. And
that's what you call a leading question, right? That's I was just trying to bait you and trick you.
I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I guess we'll think about it. Right? We haven't even thought about it, Gene. So now that you've brought that up, it's something we might consider now. But didn't even think about it. Nobody's mentioned it to us. I don't know if anybody brought that up or not.
Yeah, no, never. Not at all, Dan.
No.
By the way, you look really good that last game in those colors. I'll just kind of say, Dan. Really appreciate the time, Dan. Let's do this again. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right, that's Dan Carey, who, by the way, like, I know if I say I run into somebody on the street in Rochester, in downtown Rochester, be like, nobody's on the street in downtown Rochester. No, this is true. Because where the Nighthawk front office is, I was just kind of walking along, and I'm coming out of the gym at the same time. I know that sounds like a humble brag, but for the point of this story, I am out of shape and I am out of breath. And I see Dan Carey. He's like, "Hey, Gene, you know, what is it?" And they had just won a game, and forgive me, I don't remember what it was. But I was like, "Hey, great game, Dan." And I'm thinking, my gosh, this is sad. No grown man should be out of breath like the way I am right now. So I didn't want to bring that up to Dan. That was the last time we talked face to face. But we'll get Terrible Time Timmy's terrible take of the day. He's had all weekend to think about this, so brace yourself. Also, there was something that happened in terms of our local media that was last Friday, and I think we should address this on the show. It does impact us here on our station. We'll get to that here in a little bit. My name is Gene Battaglia. This is WGR Rochester. Hey, it's Gene Battaglia. May, such a beautiful time of year here in Western New York. It's also a reminder that summer isn't far behind. That summer heat, right? And if your windows are older or inefficient, that heat can sneak in quickly. and drive your energy bills right up along with it. That's why I recommend Window Nation. When it comes to your home, it's one of the smartest investments you can make. And experts say that windows can retain up to 80% of their value. So you're not just improving comfort, you're adding long-term value as well. Window Nation's windows are custom built for your home, measured carefully for the right fit, and installed by experienced crews, often in just 1 day or less. And every window is backed by a lifetime warranty, which gives you real peace of mind. Right now, during their Buy 4 Windows, Get 4 free sale, you place your windows and get half of them for free. Plus, there's no money down and no payments or interest for 2 full years. Don't wait. Buy 4, Get 4 free is happening now. Visit windownation.com to schedule your consultation today. That's windownation.com. So this time of year, it's always a fine line, right? You want to give guys rest here, and Lindy Ruff going to this button today that, no, today was optional. And you would think, wait a second, after that performance last night, wouldn't you want to be working the guys out? Well, yeah, they know, but optional practice today. This courtesy of Matthew Fairburn from The Athletic. Sabres aren't practicing today, but a few players are skating at Bell Center. Tyson Kozak, Luke Shen, Zach Metza, Josh Dunn, goalies Colton Ellis, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, and Konsta Helenius. We will talk to Joe Yerdon coming up. This all kind of, all right, is Zucker, is something off there? You saw him kind of wincing in pain earlier in this series. So what kind of lineup changes might we see here coming for Game 4? Because you don't need me to tell you, you fall behind 3-1 in any series, very, very difficult against a team like Montreal to come back. So we joke here in the sports bar that Game 5s are pivotal. This is pivotal, Game 4. Welcome to the postseason, everyone. It is time for my favorite segment.
It's now time for Terrible Time Timmy's Terrible Take of the Day on WGR Rochester. WGR Rochester. It's Terrible Time Timmy.
Weekend. I didn't have to hear that for 2 days, but we are back and ready to roll. And I was a little bit nervous there. I thought you were about to steal my take. Konsta Helenius. We have to do something now. Our backs are against the wall for the first time in 15 years. And Sam Carrick, not really doing it. He came back, played about 5 minutes, whatever. Zucker's been hurt. We know without knowing that Tage Thompson and Alex Tuch are playing at far less than 100%. Use the ace. Pull it out of the sleeve. Put Konsta Helenius in the lineup. Make something happen. And I said this back when Austin got hurt, and sure, it was interchangeable with the timing of Norris returning from injury. We have to figure something out with this roster that allows this team to succeed. Konsta Helenius is the answer. Throw him in there. Let him produce. Make something happen. Go win this series. Steal another game from Montreal on the road. Go back to Buffalo. Close it out.
All right. Okay. I gotcha. Now, this doesn't come without. You're not alone in this take, right? But we should kind of mention he's a center, and Carrick coming back. Carrick was, it was a nothing burger last night. Like Carrick was, at one point I just saw him getting his face punched in. I'm not interested, and anybody that says for development in the future, no, I'm not interested in development. It has nothing to do with zero development. You put out the best that can help you in that regard. How much wing has he played? Well, that's this to Joe Yerdon. Because when I'm saying, all right, for Zucker, maybe, but do you entertain that? I'm not moving it for Carrick. If anything, Kozak is the guy that, hey, had a really decent game one, and all of a sudden Carrick is back in there. That could be another move there. Like, all right, well, maybe we're not going to play Carrick back-to-back games. So, look, it's not just one thing with this team. They've sprung a leak here, in the last 2 games, all over the place. It's just like the dike is coming. Your fingers are trying to plug it up here. Well, how about this? The arbitrator for this will be Joe Yerdon.
I'll take it.
Yeah, we'll have Joe Yerdon coming up, who is in Montreal. You know what I mean? This is the thing, too. We were joined by Dennis Bernstein on Friday. He's like, yeah, I was on Montreal radio. They had nothing negative to say about Buffalo. He's like, I have nothing to say about Montreal. When I tell you, other than Manhattan, my favorite city. I love going there. I appreciate their passion for their team. And the idea that they haven't won a cup since 1993, that's what I'm thinking, it's an honest question. Is this the best team they've had since 1993? Oh, they made the cup final. Okay, in the bubble or whatever.
A 2014 playoff bubble, yeah.
Yeah, the 2020 bubble. Yeah, that's I guess. Are you kidding me? Can I just pass this on? Tim, yeah, you laughed at this too. I didn't mean to go in this direction. Okay, so right now they have, it's past 2 o'clock. What does everybody think the lead story on SportsCenter is? Here's a report from Shams Sarania. No, it's not about Wembanyama. He's not getting suspended. But that would be a lead, right? Bucks open to trade offers for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Are you kidding? Stop! This is why people turn against ESPN. Shams.
We've got playoff series. The Knicks swept, but let's talk about a team that's irrelevant.
And the thing you've been saying over and over and over, this is why people mock them. Weren't they open to trade offers at the trade deadline? Weren't they offer? We're way past the break. I'm sorry. That's comical, and they're going to get roasted for that.
Yeah, they stood around and did nothing.
Yeah, and it's as they should. Joe Yurden coming up. Time for your calls as well. 866-4326. Gene Battaglia, Tim Schneider, Dan Drummy, all here on WGR Rochester. Big old helping of adversity for the Buffalo Sabres as they are down in the series now 2-1. Game 4 tomorrow night in Montreal. Head coach Lindy Ruff not looking beyond tomorrow.
We really have to just worry about one game, the next game. Again, you look at some areas of the game improved. I thought our power play did everything but score again on the next couple power plays, so that improved. The discipline to not take as many penalties. We'll get more of our players involved in the game, and so that's got to improve too.
Joe Yernan from the Bleacher Report noted hockey. He will join us live from Montreal coming up later this hour. Buffalo Bills fortifying their defense. They sign a linebacker, Mike Dana, formerly of the Chiefs. He's 28 years old. Rochester Red Wings open a series tomorrow at home against Lehigh Valley. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester. Hour number 2, as we are proudly broadcasting here from the High Falls Studios in downtown Rochester. If you missed Nighthawks team president Dan Carey, he joined us last hour. We'll have that up for you shortly, courtesy of one Dan DeLorean, as he does a great job chopping up all the audio, getting everything ready for us. As we mentioned, Joe Yernan will be coming up here in a little bit, talk about potential lineup changes. It's not the fact that Montreal won 2 games. It's the fact that the Sabres got their ass kicked in 2 games. Like, there's just no way around that. It happened in game 2, and all right, Thompson gets kind of a goal where Dubash was way out of position. It's his problem, and the Sabres just cannot clear the zone. They can't. And I'm not blaming Alex Lyon. I don't anticipate that move, but I do hope there are some other moves. You just can't roll the same thing out there. And part of the mystery is I don't know. Like, okay, to what extent is Zucker hurt, if at all? We'll talk to Joe Yernan, noted hockey, coming up a little later this hour. Mentioned this at the end of last hour that when it comes to Rochester media, there was something. Whoa! I got a tip on Friday, and I don't want to be the guy reporting this stuff, but it impacts us here. Did not see this coming, because when Don Stevens announced his 40 years would be his last. And if you think about it, 40 years, 70 for the franchise, it made all the sense in the world. And for Don, like, we had him on a few weeks ago. Don, what are you going to go do? I'm gonna rest. You're like, okay, Don, that's so Don. But all along here, last couple of years, it's almost like they've been setting us up to have Andrew Mossbrooks take over as the voice of the Rochester Americans. And he is no longer with the organization. So I can report on this. I did reach out to Andrew. And Andrew asked if he could come on. I said, you know what? Why don't we just kind of wait until you land on your feet? This was something that he didn't walk away from. But nonetheless, it's going to be tough for anybody filling in for Don Stevens. That's I wish that person luck, and we'll all get behind that person. But to me, that was a little surprising, and to see kind of like the reaction on social media over the weekend that, Tim, we joke about this on the show. Like, if you want something nobody to pay attention to, Friday at 4 o'clock.
You got it.
Yep, that is beep, 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 beep. Back up the truck. We're going to dump. News dump time.
It's about exactly when it was, too.
Yeah. And it called you up, and you're like, no. I'm like, yeah.
Stunned.
Yeah.
Very surprised.
Which, yeah. Yeah. So and I've had people reach out. Do I know what happened? The answer is no. And quite honestly, it's none of my business. I actually had somebody reach out to me on LinkedIn. Hey, can you put in a good word with the Amherst? No, I can't. Okay, I'm just doing my thing here in Radio City here in Rochester. So we already knew the Amherst were going to sound a little different on air next year. Now we really know they're going to sound a little different. By the way, did you see who the division final is going to be?
Yeah, I did. Crazy development in the Eastern Conference entirely. The Providence is out too.
Yeah, Providence gone. Springfield knocked them out. Toronto and Cleveland ends up being the division final, which, you think, oh, my God, big, nasty Laval and Syracuse. Nope, Gonzo, which Toronto getting by. That's how close these things can kind of be. So I don't want to wish time away, certainly. I would think next year you'd have two cornerstones, or maybe not. Tell me if I'm off on this, because I think Hellenius starts in Rochester next year, unless he knocks, blows the door off everybody in camp and whatnot. I could be wrong on that, but I think, hey, he's going to be 20 next year. Start him here. And then when the time is right, you move him up. The other thing, too, is Levi. Like, if you are not getting some sort of deal that says, oh, this is going to make the Buffalo Sabres better today, then why would you move off of Devin Levi? Oh, because you don't want to be here. I don't know that. You don't know that. So, to me, Devin Levi should be the starting goaltender to start the season in Rochester next year. I don't think you should move off of these goaltenders in Buffalo. Alex Lyon under contract for another year. UPL not going anywhere. Now, do the Sabres have elite goaltending? Well, Lyon wasn't he was okay in Game 2. I'm not going to say he's the reason they lost. Lyon last night was lights out. That game should have been 5-0 after the first. No, actually 5-1. I just kind of blanked out on the Tage Thompson goal. But the point is, like, Lyon is not one of the reasons why they lost that game last night.
It's been a tough series for Alex Lyon, and it's not that he's played poorly. It's just that the Sabres have done nothing in front of him. They've helped him zero.
Well, that's why Metza going in, just guys who know what to do with the puck and are not going to cough it up. I said this, that I think Montreal is a tougher matchup than Carolina. And Carolina's they're kicking back as expected. They swept. And so, like, minimum, they're going to have a week off. And I don't think that's good for them. You goes, oh, you're going to heal up. Heal up. No, you're winning. You don't want to, like, have this momentum buzzkill. So to me, I could see myself losing interest really quick if the Sabres go out against Montreal. Am I really going to be wanting to see Vegas, Colorado, or eventually, yeah, I would turn it on, but it's not going to be appointment television as this has been, certainly. 585-866-4326. That is our phone number. We just kind of mentioned this in passing. How did Victor Wembanyama not get a suspension? You see, he gives his elbow to Naz Reid last night. And then the news came down today, like, now that's, because he got ejected from the game, that the league is not going to dole out any other punishment.
If that's Draymond Green, he's getting at least 3.
If it's anybody else, but you knock out Wembanyama, okay, then you were kind of saying, hey, Minnesota, advance to the conference final. There you go. Which ultimately, does it really matter? I think OKC is just going to mow over whoever comes in their path, and I'm including whoever's going to, come in the Eastern Conference. But from a TV standpoint, you want that series going 7, and people are tuning in for Wembanyama. So am I allowed to kind of look at that sideways and say, okay, so you can actually elbow somebody in the throat and really cause serious damage to them? Okay, great. Fantastic. Oh, we got kicked out of the game. I don't understand. That was punishment enough. Okay. Now, that, by the way, come on. That's showing you can get under the guy's skin, too. So, certainly interesting. Mike Dana is the newest Buffalo Bill. You remember that name. He's a linebacker out of Kansas City. And what it spells to me is hard for me to imagine that Matt Milano ends up back in Buffalo. You're gaining a few years. You're gaining some production. And it's, I'm sure, a contract that if the Bills, we don't have the numbers yet, if it doesn't work out, when you're signing somebody at this point of the season where it doesn't count against your compensatory formula, doesn't, like, these are guys to round out the 90-man roster. So Mike Dana, where would I put the odds? I would put him more above 50-50 right now than he actually makes the final roster because they really don't have a lot. Linebacker is thin. It was Bernard, and it's Dorian Williams, and it's the kid they drafted, and it's Joe Andreessen, and then what? So Dana on the outside right now looks to be somebody that will be in a great position to make this Buffalo Bills roster. Scheduling note today from the NFL where, and I'm sure we'll have something tomorrow right in the middle of morning drive time or the morning news, and today was literally the Today Show. Like, got to say, hey, Sunday Night Football, we've got the Giants and Cowboys, yay! And like, wow, that's original. You're kidding, on week 1? We watch whatever it is on week 1. But if the Bills are opening up at home, we know that the Bills requested to be in prime time. We know that the league wants to showcase this. I just think that there are signs here that are pointing that the Bills will open up at home on Monday Night Football. And that would be fantastic. It would be a 3-day weekend. Lots of people would kind of take off. And it gives the opportunity for ESPN and everybody else to showcase, here's the new stadium in Buffalo. And you have Sports Center. Before that, you have NFL Live. You have the McAfee Show. You have everybody out there doing their thing as the Bills take on fill in the blank. Me, I don't want Detroit. I don't want Baltimore. Give me the Jets week 1. Give me Miami. At that point, people are just going to be, week 1, okay, great, it's football, it's back. I don't need the big, juicy, meaty matchup for Buffalo week 1. Last year was. Wow, you open up, think about that. Open up on Sunday Night Football with Baltimore, 41-40. Wow, that's the way to open the season. Well, the NFL this year didn't go back to Buffalo on Sunday Night Football. They go, from the Giants' standpoint, okay, old faces and new places storyline. There's John Harbaugh, the new head coach of the New York Giants, and maybe the Giants make a few plays on offense, and Chris Collinsworth will drool all over Jackson Dart or whatever it is. Like, you can see this all kind of coming. Joe, your noted hockey Bleacher Report. We will go north of the border next. As all right, we're not at DEFCON 3 or 2, but we're at DEFCON 4 for the Sabres right now. That was not bueno. We'll talk to Joe Yerdon as Game 4 coming up tomorrow night. My name is Gene Battaglia here on WGR Rochester. For the first time this postseason, the Buffalo Sabres trail in a series down 2-1. Head coach Lindy Ruff knows this is a tough opponent.
They're a good team, but if you put the puck in the right place, you can control some of that play. We fueled some of their aggression, and they get on you. They force some of those plays. I'll give them a lot of credit. I said before this started, they beat a hell of a team. They are a hell of a team. Don't take them for granted. If we don't realize it now, we're never going to realize it.
Game 4 is tomorrow night in Montreal. Joe Yerdon, noted hockey and Bleacher Report. Joe joining us next north of the border. Buffalo Bills signing former Chiefs linebacker Mike Dana. Dana's 28 years old, was released by Kansas City in a cost-cutting move. Rochester Red Wings open a series tomorrow night at home against Lehigh Valley. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester. Again, like if the Sabres lose 2-1, say back-to-back nights, one of them's in overtime, I don't know if people are just pinning the panic button. Maybe we're not, but it's just the way that, things kind of open up. And if it's not for some goaltending last night from Alex Lyon, that score might have been worse, if you can imagine that. Joe Yerdon from Noted Hockey Bleacher Report giving us a few minutes. And, Joe, rather than kind of discuss, all right, what went wrong last night, I'd like to start here. Well, thank you for the time here today. How do you fix this and some of the moves that we've been discussing? Now, one, I'm going to say no right off the top, and that would be no, I would not switch goaltenders. But is there anything else under consideration? Joe, how are you today?
I'm doing well. It's enjoying the day here in Montreal. It's a little overcast, a little rainy this morning, but it's always nice to be up here. But it's talking with Lindy Ruff and Alex Tuck and Zach Benson this afternoon was interesting because they were going to practice and then they opted against practicing. So we'll find out tomorrow morning if we're going to see any switches. But I don't know if anything's on the table or everything's on the table. But I mean, Lindy put it kind of plain. Like we're gonna put out the best lineup for us to win. So I mean, we love vagaries in the playoffs, don't we? But but I would imagine some of the mistakes and maybe some of the errors have maybe put the microscope on a few players, and maybe from there you can decide, like, all right, how can we make this work? Certainly, Logan Stanley had a couple of low light moments in Game 3. Jason Zucker's ice time was way down, although Lindy poo-pooed the idea that there was an issue going on there. It was just the matter of all the penalties and him getting switched off the first power play unit is why he wasn't didn't get a lot of ice time last night. But I would have to imagine that something's got to get tweaked here to try to help with the speed, the decision making, and maybe something to cut down on the turnovers. The problem is that the atmosphere in Game 3 was a lot, and if you're going to put a young player or an inexperienced player into that situation, you're adding somebody who might also help lean into that sort of thing where they could get rattled by the moment and the situation.
Well, it's not comparable. I'll just say this. When you're going into the mecca of hockey, right, in Montreal, but Zach Mecca, in college, he played in a national championship game and won. If there's anybody I would trust back there, and I'm admitting my Rochester bias to you, but with that being said, here could that just be the move? Because to me, getting the puck out of the damn zone and settling things down, that should be job one. I don't need a Logan Stanley, with the, oh my gosh, Xhaka might be on the other end. No, like could we get Metsa back in the lineup? Your thoughts when you're referring to a player that hasn't been in this atmosphere? Could he be the solution for the Sabres on the blue line tomorrow night?
I wouldn't rule it out necessarily. And there are some other factors that go into this, because if you're going to swap out, a Logan Stanley or even a Connor Timmins, which I don't foresee that happening. I think Connor Timmins is kind of locked in right now. Lindy very much trusts him. But if you're going to swap out Stanley for a guy like Metsa, playing on the PK is an important part. And he did play some PK time late in the season, which I think might have been a bit of a test for Metsa to see if he can handle it and he can do it. And, Lindy was complimentary. He said, he does PK in practice and he does it well, so we got to look at it in a game. And, and he handled it fine there too. Playoffs are a different speed, though. Montreal plays at a completely different speed, and nobody downplayed the atmosphere. Everybody said, Zach Benson today even said, this atmosphere pumps us up. This is incredible to play here, which it is. I get that, but at the same point, it can get to you because it's a lot. Now, the only issue I would have with making a swap like that, putting Metsa in, is that you're putting a lot more pressure on your top four, because you're giving them even more minutes, because you're talking about your third pair is a pairing in name only, because you'd have two righties, and you're not going to have guys playing on their offhand side in a game where the opposition is playing extremely fast, and if you make one mistake, you're going to have a 3-on-1 going the other way, and trouble again. But I think if you want to have a guy that has that experience in that situation and can handle it and has played well this season, then yes, Metsa would be that guy. But you're asking a lot of your top four on the road in what's essentially a must-win game.
Yeah, and yes, for sure. Going down 3-1 and the prospect of having to win 3 straight, not advisable. From north of the border, Joe, your noted hockey, joining us here in the sports bar. Joe, I'm not going to tell you which side of the debate I was on, but Tim, our fine producer, we were having this debate because you've seen this online here, people debating, what do you do with Consta Helenius? Helenius has been skating with the team for real, not as a black ace, as you know. What are the chances? Would that be advisable, in your opinion, putting in a player who's not even 20 years old yet?
I mean, here's the yes and no of it. Part of the yes is that he's played in Montreal this season already, and he played very well in that game. I was here for that game earlier this season. He played extremely well, but that was one of 9 games that he played in, and of those 9 games, that was one of the 3, 4 or 5 games that he played pretty well. There were a handful of other games though he didn't play as well in, which you expect. He's young. It's first NHL experience. That's going to happen. It's also also in the yes column for him is that he's been playing against adult men since he was 16. So playing against bigger guys, playing against more experienced guys, he's been doing it forever now at this point. The no column on that is that it's still Montreal. It is still the playoffs. This is an entirely different beast than what he experienced coming here earlier this season, which was still an intense, incredible atmosphere. It's a lot. It is a lot to handle, and I think players are not going to say it, but you look at how they've played on the ice, and you have to wonder how much of that is having an effect on their performance on the ice. And there's no science to that, but when you see the turnovers, you see the mistakes, repeating the mistakes that they made at home in Game 2 and Game 3, you can't help but wonder, maybe there's something off here, and maybe the crowd played a role in that. Now, he's a really good player. Now, I know there's the contract thing, whatever. I don't honestly, if that's dictating how you're going to make decisions with a player, I think that's I don't know. That's kind of small. That's small peanuts to be worrying about that stuff. But I think if you're going to put him in, man, you better be right. You have to be 100% right that swapping him in for somebody, whoever it is, he's the right call. That's the right switch to pull. And I don't know if that's the move they want to make right now, because it's almost a desperation panic move in a way, because this team's been together. They've been together all season. They've been tight all year. They won the division, all that stuff. So I don't know that you make that pull right now. Fans want to see everybody get swapped in and out right now. I get that, but the way this team's played and pulled together this season, I think they're allowed to have that time where it's like, okay, switch it on. Let's see what you can do here and get this thing tied up again.
Yeah, and you brought up Zucker too, kind of sticking with the, all right, do we switch him in or out? And hey, we know he was dealing with something in the Boston series. You go back to Game 4, he had to leave. That was a Sabre win. You didn't have to worry about that. But say and they're not going to tell you this, and Lindy just kind of dismissed it. But if Zucker really isn't good to play more than 3 minutes a game, what would be the next option there?
I would think it would be, and the fans are going to hate the garbage out of this. I think the move you make then is probably Tanner Pearson, and then you're maybe tinkering around with your lines in other ways to try to make that work. Maybe you slide Benson up to the second line. Pearson becomes your third line guy. Maybe Pearson and Greenway switch. I don't know. It's not a sexy move. It's not a sexy switch, but like, the pecking order kind of thing is there. Maybe a Josh Dunn gets a call where if you want to get a little bit harder, I think they just need to be faster. But I think if you're talking about swapping out your second line left wing, then maybe Consta gets that call. But I think that would become that's a all hands on deck sort of situation where if Zucker's not well enough to go, then you worry about it. Now, Lindy tried to put that fire out again today. He was asked about it last night about Zucker's ice time. I had to ask him again today about it, and he said, listen, it was just a matter of consequences in the game with the penalties and all that stuff, and getting switched to power play too. But you have to wonder, because he's the leader on the team, and he played the second fewest minutes on the team behind Sam Carrick, who just came back from injury. So it's an issue. It's something to keep an eye on, but until there's very obviously a fire, which, I mean, maybe there's smoke, but there's not a fire yet. But yeah, they have the veteran depth, but if you're digging into your depth at this point, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, that's where we might be. Joe Yurden joining us from Montreal, noted hockey. I found it very curious, and I'm getting texts and messages like, whoa. Listen to Tage get very, very curt with that. If you missed it from game number 2, he was just asked, hey, are you dealing with something? None of your business. Okay. What did you make of that when he gets that defensive, Joe? We're to assume he's dealing with something right now?
I look at it as he doesn't want any excuses. He's not going to accept any excuses. His mind about it is like, I've got to play better. I've got to be better. Whether I'm hurt or not, doesn't matter. I just need to be better. I need to play better. I think that's more where his mindset is. You lose a game 5-1, you're going to be unhappy. And he didn't look right. He made some crucial errors in game 2. So, he's not happy, period. But you get asked about something that's, injuries are kind of a state secret in the playoffs, unless, you have like a compound fracture and that everybody knows. But something like that, like I think it was a fair question, but I think, Taja was kind of a fair response too, because, he doesn't have to tell anybody that. Like if he's banged up, he's dealing with something, like, all right, well, good luck figuring it out, because I ain't telling you. It's the Sphinx riddle. So, but I think in his case, it's just something where he's like, I just have to play my game better, and I think that's really the focus for a lot of this stuff, because they're afforded many opportunities to lean into an excuse or make an excuse if they want to. And then none of these guys are accepting any of that. So I think that's a mark in their column, is that they're tipping their cap to Montreal. They're playing hard. They're playing well. They're a really good team, and we just have to play our game and be better, and we can be the better team ourselves. It's a different kind of like war of words, where you're trying to crush each other with compliments, but it's a good way to kind of distract away from any issues that might be there or that could be used as excuses or what have you. I mean, if he's playing hurt, we'll find out when they're eliminated, whenever that happens. But until then, we're not going to know.
No, let's for Sabre fans, hope that doesn't happen this week. Game 4 tomorrow night, and there will be a Game 5 that will be coming up on Thursday. Joe Yurden from Bleacher Report, our guest here. The Malenstein collision with Dubaj, Joe, I grade everything by the Lucic Miller, getting trucked. Okay, that is like the to me it wasn't. What did you make of that play?
I looked at that as one where Malenstein's he's driving the far post hard, and there's a pass coming for him at that point, and he's got to get there. And I think in the regular season, maybe you're slamming on the brakes and just like reaching with your stick to make that play. But when you're in a race with somebody who's also really fast, you're probably like, well, if I don't win that puck and if I don't get that scoring opportunity, then what are we doing here? And Beck's kind of wired that way. Problem being is that when the goalie's standing there and sees that play coming and he reads it, and I know Bolduc was there. Bolduc wasn't necessarily guiding him into that direction, but he's defending, and it's a play that happens very quickly and a very ugly result. Although I would say Malenstein tried to react way too late to try to get out of the way to stop it from being a complete 100% football tackle into the goal. But an ugly play that looks very bad on video, and very fortunate that Jakub Dobeš was not injured on that play. It certainly got him more pumped up for the rest of the game. And, the result of that was the Sabres, again, taking a penalty and again giving Montreal the opportunity to score. And Beck is not a guy that's wired to do dirty things. He's a guy who plays the game hard and plays very fast. And that's to me, that's a scoring attempt that has a very bad result for everybody all around, because now Malenstein had a bullseye on his back the whole rest of the game. He had that break-in opportunity where Hudson got in his way, and Arbor-Xhekaj was coming with very ill intent to try to take him out, and he missed. And it was probably better for everybody that he missed on that play, because otherwise we're maybe talking about something else going on. But that's, I don't know if that's something that carries over into tomorrow night. I'm positive the fans will not forget it, though.
Yeah, that's that fan base, and I'm watching that, Joe, and all I see is red everywhere. Were there any Sabre fans at all in the building last night?
I was trying to count from the gondola, the media gondola over the rink last night. I was kind of walking around and taking a look into the stands. And we're talking about the upper bowl here. I counted maybe 5 because I was just looking for anything that wasn't red, white, and blue. And I saw some blue and gold jerseys and some folks that were maybe trying to keep it covered a little bit in case things got a little bit nasty. But there were not many. There were certainly no packs of fans sitting together like we saw in Buffalo with Montreal fans. But yeah, the number of Sabres fans were very few, and they were kept very quiet for most of the night. So yeah, they weren't able to stand out the way they were in Boston.
Joe Yurden, Bleacher Report, noted hockey. As you mentioned, you talked to Lindy this morning, as did other reporters. I'll tell our audience what they can check out here in preparation, Joe, for game number 4 tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of holding our breath until morning skate tomorrow at probably be around 11:30 to see if they tip their hand, if there's going to be any lineup changes, any moves, anything like that. But right now it's, Alex Tuck, I was seemed a bit serious, a bit somber this morning talking about things. He was very upset with himself about not back checking well enough on the Bolduc goal that made it 3-1. I think he's right to be very upset with himself about that one. But he and Zach Benson were very straightforward, all about business, and so was Lindy. So yeah, I mean, if you want juice and you want drama out of this, you're gonna have to. It's all coming from off the ice, not off of it.
Are you heading to Old Montreal, Old Town tonight, Joe? Undecided
as of yet. It's been it's been so busy with just hockey stuff that it's been tough. But today's the off day, so I don't know. We'll see how much walking we get in today, and hopefully the weather cooperates.
Yeah, hopefully for that. And Joe, as always, appreciate the time so much today, and we'll be checking out all your work. Thanks so much, Joe.
Appreciate it, Gene. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Joe Yurden from the Bleacher Report, our guest here in the Sports Bar. Let's put a bow on this, wrap this up. Coming up next, some final thoughts coming your way. Hey, missed any of today's show, just download the Odyssey app. It's back for you 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern time here. My name is Gene Battaglia here, WGR Rochester. Tonight, the Yankees opening a series in Baltimore, and it's been a really nice start for the Yankees, right? But you know this? They no longer have the best record in the American League. They're no longer in first place. Yankees got swept in Milwaukee. It's Tampa Bay? Tampa Bay is in first place. It's funny, like, so early in the season. First place in the AL West. It's not Seattle. It's not perennial contender Houston. It's just Athletics.
A team with no home.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the Vagabonds there. Soon, like, what? Come on, give them at least, let them say Sacramento or formerly of Oakland. Do something. But it is the one thing I can say, though, is a team with the worst record in baseball. That would be the New York Mets. I am dead inside about this team. And now I'm beginning to bargain with myself that, hey, there's other things I can get into this summer rather than baseball. And in baseball this time next year, who knows? We might not have a labored agreement. I'm not one of those Met fans, by the way, that hates on the Yankees. There's some people that I hear from you, Yankee fan, like, oh, Juan Soto. What? Okay, he chose us over you. Not exactly helping, right? Kind of working out in your favor right now, right? Again, Yankees in Baltimore tonight. Last call. But quite honestly, we are just a little bit out of time. Tomorrow we will talk to Matt Perino, from the Syracuse Post-Standard Shout podcast. The note today, Mike Dana signing. So that was somebody that was kind of on the, all right, who could the Bills bring in as far as linebackers? 21 and a half career sacks coming from the outside. Seems pretty competent. It's a signal to me that kind of a long shot that Matt Milano will be back in Buffalo. I don't know if Matt Milano is going to end up anywhere, to be honest. Some of these guys are just sitting out there. And it's really kind of an indictment, not on Sean McDermott, but on Brandon Beane. Like, you trotted out a defense last year that had Joey Bosa, unsigned. Matt Milano, unsigned. Shaq Thompson, unsigned. Jordan Poyer, unsigned. Tre'Davious White, again, unsigned. Did I miss anybody there? Oh, Daquan Jones, unsigned. Like, no wonder. So, time for a new beginning in Buffalo. And tomorrow we'll get some sort of leak, I'm sure, about the schedule as the NFL wants us. I'm surprised the NFL hasn't actually done the countdown clock.
Announcing the announcement for the announcement to announce something.
Yeah, like there should be like the countdown clock. Let me go to NFL.com. Like, who doesn't love a good countdown clock, right? Like, every day is New Year's Eve. NFL.com does not have a countdown clock. Shouldn't they have a countdown clock to 8 o'clock Thursday? Now, they just have it right there. Schedule release 26, Thursday, 8 o'clock.
The long tease.
I am going to predict by the time we get off the air on Thursday, Tim, we have half the schedule.
I would say that's probably about the percentage.
I'm going to say we're going to have half the schedule, and that way you can just focus solely on Sabres hockey coming up Thursday night, and then if you want to, just look at your phone when the time is right.
The international stuff will leak at some point, and we'll be off and running.
Nighthawk President Dan Carey was great. He joined us today in the 1 o'clock hour. Joe Yurden in the 2 o'clock hour. If you missed any of today's show, 1 to 3 Eastern, we're on. Dan DeLorean has all that fine audio wherever you get your podcast. For Tim Schneider, for Dan Drummond, my name is Gene Battaglia. Matt Perino on the show tomorrow. Sabres hockey tomorrow night. Pregame beginning at 6. Chopin the Bulldog up next year on WGR Rochester.